We demanded for the instance, and you will get that instance. Okay, you will get that instance in your mail, and after that, we will maybe I will show you the architecture of this API gateway and Lambda, and how this all will work. And maybe we will not proceed in this. Maybe what we can say application any further, because it will cost you heavily. Okay, because this is a deep learning model, and the instance you are demanding, that cost very much. Okay, so main aim was to give you an intuition how you will work in maybe we can say industry environment. Okay, so that will be helpful for you when maybe you will join in somewhere as an uh, machine learning engineer or maybe data scientist. Okay, I will discuss the first cut architecture solution about the AWS API gateway and Lambda. First, maybe I will give you some of the uh, maybe intuition about what is API gateway. So API gateway is nothing but it is a fully managed service that makes it easy to maybe it makes some of the things very easy for the developers. And what are those things? Those things are to create, to public, to maintain, to monitor, and to secure API at any scale. Okay, so that's the use of API gateway. And again, um, API work as in front door for application to access the backend services. Okay, such as backend service. By backend services, I mean like I can say code running in an AWS Lambda. Let's say. Okay, so now you might be thinking, what is AWS Lambda then? Okay, so AWS Lambda provides you services that lets developer to do three things. Okay, first thing is run the code without providing or without managing or without provisioning a server. Okay, and the second thing is you have to maybe AWS Lambda provide you services where you have to pay only for compute times you consume. Okay, and if you are let's say you will trigger AWS Lambda, and it will give you back the results based on the triggered function, and you will be only charged for only that time, maybe when your AWS Lambda was up and running. Okay, and the third point is uh, it can be automatically triggered from other AWS services such as AWS API gateways. Okay, so what you can do, you can trigger AWS Lambda from other maybe AWS services. Okay, such as AWS API gateway. Okay, so now we will come to this architecture, and it will be very important for you to understand. So as you can see, there are four components of this architecture. One is client application. This client application is nothing but you can see it as an app, or you can see it as an website, you can see it as an mobile phone, you can see it as an desktop. Okay, and so I guess the component, the first component, that is client application, that is very clear for you. Okay, so in client application, what you will do, there will be an interface like this. Okay, so what you will be having, let me show you. Maybe you can imagine it. Okay, you are having a website. Here you will have to upload the image, the image which is having cancer or not having cancer, and here there will be upload button. If you will upload this image, and then you will what will happen, the work of AWS API gateway will come into picture. Okay, so what AWS API gateway does, it triggers AWS Lambda function. Okay, but in a nutshell, it exposes REST API that application will interact with. Okay, so it will expose that REST API. Okay, so what it will do, it will trigger AWS Lambda function, and what AWS Lambda function does is it will contain the Python code for invoking an AWS SageMaker endpoint. Okay, so you will make one endpoint in SageMaker, it will invoke that point, and again there will be you will get back the results as maybe it will tell you uh, either that image which you have uploaded here, maybe that is cancerous, or that don't have cancer, that is 0 and 1. It will give you the result. Okay, that's how this architecture in a nutshell works between AWS API gateway and AWS Lambda. Okay, so what you have to do, you will create a Lambda function to invoke the endpoint. Okay, and you will create an API gateway for calling Lambda function. Okay, and after that you will test the API gateway with Postman application which I showed you. Okay, so their Postman will behave as a client application. This is what we were thinking to do. Okay, so as that will cost you big bucks, so we have planned not to take it any further from here, because that will maybe charge you within a range of 6K to 10K. Okay, the whole application running and exposing it to the maybe to designing this architecture. Okay, and maybe triggering the lambda endpoints, triggering the SageMaker, and after maybe creating some of the endpoints, and then that will charge you some bucks. That's why we don't want that to happen, and so that's why we will maybe stop over here. I have given you a detailed uh, architecture of it, how it will work. Okay, so from maybe from here you can go to again the second part of it, which is how we will train a typical machine learning model in SageMaker. Okay, so that's the second part of it. There you will understand the crux of training a machine learning model. uh, okay, I guess this is more than enough to maybe cover over here in the architecture part, and that's how it will work in a nutshell. Okay, so maybe not dragging it a bit furthermore, let's maybe uh, I will try to uh, conclude it over here. Okay, and in architecture part you need to before creating the architecture you need to take care of S3 model artifact. Okay, just what you have to do, you have to simply remember these jargons, and when you will work in the industry, don't worry. The AWS API gateway can be created using AWS we can say what we can say board, and again AWS Lambda can be created from there. Okay, from the main AWS. So these are maybe some clicks away from you. Don't worry. uh, it will not take much time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to set up an AWS API gateway and AWS Lambda function. You have done, trust me, you have done 90% of the task, more than 90% of the task. Just we are concerned about you are maybe you will be charged much for these things. That's why we are not proceeding from here. Okay, so because the instance we have demanded, that's in GPU instance, as you can see, so that will create some caveats in your monetary, maybe if we will see it through the monetary lens. Okay, so please go to the next module, that is there we are showing how to maybe develop or maybe how to train a machine learning algorithm in SageMaker. Okay, that will be useful for you. Maybe I will conclude it over here.